Hari Om. Today, 5th June, is World Environment Day. In our Upanishads, there is a beautiful mantra which says, Yad eva iha tad amutra, yad amutra tadanviha. What is here is there. What is in microcosm is in the macrocosm, and what is in the macrocosm is in here. Mrityo samrityum apnoti ya iha nana eva pashyati. One goes from death to death if one sees duality. This mantra is, of course, from the highest Advaitic standpoint, but even from environment standpoint, if we think we are different from the environment and environment is around us, the world is around us for us to just enjoy, it is just a thing, then we will exploit it. But in Hindu culture, we view the world as an appearance of the divine. Everything here is divine for us. So right from a stone to the absolute formless, everything is worshipped in this glorious culture. And also we don't see the world as a thing. We see the world as a being, the cosmic being. It is the body of the Supreme Lord. We call it as Virat Roop of the Lord. And also that power which makes this world happen is Maya Shakti, is Prakriti. We worship her as Mother. So on this World Environment Day, I wanted to share with you some very inspiring facts about our culture. So all of us know that the world is made up of 5 elements: space, air, fire, water, earth. Our body also is made up of 5 elements. And so the vision that our masters had was so beautiful. So we will come to each element, starting from the grossest. So earth, in our culture, it is said, Namo matre prithivya mata bhumihi putroham prithivyaha. I salute my mother soil. Soil is my mother, and I am the son of this soil. When a child wakes up, when any individual wakes up, in fact, in our culture, when we put our foot on the ground, we seek forgiveness from Mother Earth. In fact, the name of Mother Earth is Kshama, because all of us trample upon her, and yet she completely forgives us and nourishes us, nurtures us through all the vegetation, trees, plants, not only humans, but all the beings. So we have always worshipped Mother Earth for nurturing us, nourishing us, for being kind, compassionate, forgiving. And many people think that, in our culture, they did not have proper hygiene and sanitary habits, etc. But it is very amazing that if you see the remains of the Saraswati Sindhu civilization, which today many people call as Indus Valley civilization. Indus Valley is actually a remnant of Saraswati Sindhu civilization. Saraswati Sindhu civilization is more than 10,000 BCE, 10,000 years old. And those remnants, we have found such sophisticated drainage systems, toilets, and whatnot. A beautiful reference from our Vishnu Smriti says that one should get up early in the morning and use the restroom past the stool. One should not leave it on an uncovered land, not in the field, not on the plowed ground, not on the lawn, not in the street, not on a small road, not in the garden, not near the garden or water reservoir, not in the cow pen, not in the open air or space, and not in water reservoir. Think about it. We are today even struggling to build toilets, and open defecation is still an issue in many of our places in the country. But this was being followed in the Vedic times. So soil pollution, our ancestors were aware of, and many other pollutions that result because of that. So through proper treatment of Mother Earth, not dumping wastes, not defecating in the open, they conserved the soil. Through proper plowing, not through using chemical fertilizers, etc. They conserve the soil and its fertility. Then we come to water. See, what is the vision of water that they had? A beautiful mantra from the Yajurveda says, Apsvantaram Amritam Apsu Bheshajam. Even the Rigveda says that. That water is equal to Amrit. And water also has tremendous medicinal properties. Apsu Bheshajam. Another mantra says, Apo Devi Brihatihi Vishwashambhuvaha, Yajurveda says, and then Apo Hishta Mayo Bhuvaha, again Yajurveda says. So, oh goddess water, kindly shower good things on us. All of us know that we worship the rivers as Mother Ganga, Mother Yamuna, all the rivers, Narmada. We worship them as mothers. And water, our body is made up of 70% of water. Also, they were very clear about how this water must be pure. Pure water has to be used for agriculture, because impure water will harm the health of the living beings, and in turn it will harm us also. So they were very conscious about the purity of soil, the purity of water, so purity of food that we eat, purity of water that we drink. The food that we eat comes from the earth. And they said that that food, the gross part of the food, becomes our body. The subtle part becomes our mind. And the water also is a very, very important aspect of our health. There's a colloquial saying which says, Jaisa pani vaisi vani. So sweet speech born out of drinking pure water. So water pollution also, they were very aware of it. And they used to do yajnas to ensure that the pollution in the air goes away, so that when the rains fall, the water is pure. Today we know that so many chemicals, toxins, etc. we are releasing in the environment. So when it rains, those come into the soil, they affect the plant, they affect the biodiversity. Of course, the ancestors did not have the trouble of industrialization and the vehicles and other machines. But my point is that they were aware of the purity of these 5 elements, how to keep these 5 elements pure, and they formed their own methods. So this is about the water, and they worshipped Indra and various other deities for the rains. So their beautiful quote from the Chandogya Upanishad says, when there is sufficient rain, there is also sufficient food. And when there is no good rain, there is scarcity of food. Thus, water is the source of joy and for living a healthy life. It is the immediate cause of all organic beings such as vegetations, insects, worms, birds, animals, men, etc. Even the mountains, the earth, the atmosphere, and the heavenly bodies are water concretized. Think about it. They are saying it is water concretized. Heavenly bodies, water concretized. This is in the Chandogya Upanishad. It's a very long passage. That's why I've not read the Sanskrit part. But you can explore. You will find it in the Chandogya. So the connection of water to heavenly bodies, that also they were aware of. How amazing is that? Then we find about fire. So, you know, fire is that element where they said that there is fire outside in 4 places. See, this is Yajurveda quote which says, Tvam agne dyubhihi adbhyaha ashmanaha oshadhibhyaha jayase. So what are the 4 places from where fire is obtained? First one they say is ocean, then sun, then lightning, then the trees. Can you imagine? Ocean. Today we call that oceanic fire as Vadavanal. And as I was doing research, I found that more than 75% of the volcanoes are below the ocean. There's tremendous volcanic activity below the ocean also. There's a whole ring in the Pacific Ocean. Ring of fire it is called. I'm sure that way in many other oceans, there would be some or the other such activity. So our masters were aware of the existence of fire in the ocean. And of course, through the sun, through the clouds and the lightning, and through the trees. they have they used to invoke Agni also, and this specific yajnas were done, Agnihotra, etc. were done. And today with Agnihotra, Agnihotra farming, the Homa farming and the Homa ash, the Homa water is sprayed on the various plants and trees, etc. There is so much that one can benefit from this Vedic way of living an environment friendly life. And not only they said, as I said, everything outside is also inside. So our body also, the Vaishwanar Agni is in our stomach, the metabolic fire, what we call. So they found methods to keep that metabolic fire bright. And they also understood that if that fire becomes weak, then the human being's immunity also goes down, health goes down. So various methods of diet control, pranayam, many ways by which that metabolic fire is kept strong, yoga. And they also connected fire to speech. They said, Vacho Devata Vanhihi, the deity of speech is fire. And don't we say this? He gave a fiery speech, or we say, I fired him. Speech is connected to fire. And that's why you will find that the second largest drainer of energy is speaking. Because fire burns, fire will destroy. Fire joins also many things. But the idea here is to understand what role fire plays in this whole universe. And in the Vedic times, the rituals also were around fire, and one invoked the phenomenal forces and the Lord through fire. Not through idols. Idols came much later. Through nature and through fire, the Devatas as well as the Supreme Lord were invoked. And even today, those who are doing the Havan and Yajna, Yaga, Agnihotra, etc., they invoke. And it is this Agnihotra and these rituals, many people reject it as some blind rituals or polluting the environment, but it is on the contrary. The kind of material that is used in the Havan purifies the environment. So that was about fire. Then about air. You see, this air also, we in our geography class, we learn that, there are 5 layers of atmosphere above this earth and all that. Troposphere and stratosphere and exosphere, all these, right? In the Siddhanta Shiromani, beautifully it is said that our ancestors knew about this, that there are 7 layers of air are in the sky. And see what they have named it. Avahaha, Pravahaha, Vivahaha, Paravahaha, Samvahaha, Udvahaha, and Parivahaha. There's a whole shloka for it also. Bhuvayuravaha iha pravahas tadurdhvam syad udvahas tadanu samvaha sanyakascha anyastato api suvaha paripurvako asmat vaha paravaha ime pavana prasiddhaha. Ime pavana prasiddhaha. These are 7 types of airs, 7 layers of airs. Such amazing things are there in our Vedic culture. My purpose of sharing all this with you is that we should not think of Veda only as a spiritual book. The Vedic way of living was so much more environment friendly, and they had understood so many depths without many equipments that we have today. Through their inner quest, through their yogic methods, through their meditations, they were able to understand the secrets of the whole universe. So just like the air is outside, there is air within, and the Panchavayu, the Pancha Pranas also, and how this physiological system functions. So the connection and the air pollution, etc., as I said, they took care of the air pollution through the Havan, through the Agni, the rituals. And finally, we come to space. So what about space? You see, space is an element which cannot be seen, heard, taste, smelt, or touched. It is beyond sense perception. But Akash literally means avakashatva, that which accommodates, that is called Akash. Everything is accommodated in this space. And so the space that they spoke about is very beautiful. What did they say? The Rig Veda says, Tisro Dyavaha Savituhu Savitur Dva Upastham Eka Yamasya Bhuvane Virashat. The Rig Veda says that. So they said there are three aspects of space. And what are they? Antariksha Lok, Dyulok, and Aditya Lok. See, they divided space into three mainly. And what did they say? The lowest is called Dyulok. The lowest is called the Antariksha Lok, which has clouds and where rains, etc. happen. Then beyond that, higher is Dyulok, which has the stars, the sun, etc. So that is the Dyulok. And don't we see that the layer where the clouds, etc. are is much, much lower. Much higher are the stars and the planets and sun, etc. And then higher than sun, they called it as the Aditya Loka. Is actually this is actually Yamalok, not Aditya Lok, sorry. It is Yamalok or Pitralok, where the ancestors, they remain. So they classified space also into three. Very subtle aspect is the third aspect, which is not visible to the senses. And they also said that same space which is accommodating everything outside, there is a space in the heart, Hridaya Guha, in which one realizes the Supreme Being. Satyam Jnanam Anantam Brahma Yo Veda Nihitam Guhayam Parame Vyoman So Oshnute Sarvan Kamaan Saha Brahmana Vipaschiteti. In the space within the heart, one realizes that Supreme Being whose nature is Satyam Jnanam Anantam, existence, consciousness, bliss. And that person truly rejoices as though all the desires of that person are fulfilled at one and the same time, meaning one discovers infinite bliss and happiness. So you see how they connected the five elements outside and inside, and they formed this, they had this vision of oneness, that we all are one. When we have this vision of oneness, we will live in a way where we protect ourselves, we evolve ourselves, and we take care of the environment also. And we live in peace, compassion, love towards all the beings around us. Today, that is the need of the hour. We are spoiling the environment, we are hurting the nature, we are destroying animals, we are destroying the biodiversity, the ozone layer, so many things. The rivers are being polluted, land is already polluted, water is polluted. So we are talking about so many types of pollutions, but the main pollution is actually in here, in the mind. This is the main pollution. Where the vision of oneness is not there, there is very petty vision. That vision of oneness is what we need to have and eliminate this duality, this pettiness. And so let us come together to understand our Vedic culture. And the essence of Vedic culture is this beautiful study of Vedanta, and live with the vision of oneness. So may Mother Prakriti and the Supreme Lord bless us with this vision. Once again, wish you a happy World Environment Day. Hari Om.